What's better than a movie about the mistress of all evil? Cue creepy music. I know you, I walked with you once upon a dream. Alright, so I had the pleasure of seeing Disney's newest movie, Maleficent, which comes out May 30th in the United States, and wow, I left this movie really conflicted. So if you're a hardcore Disney fan, I think you might find this movie a little hard to swallow. Sleeping Beauty is one of my top 5 favorite animated movies of all time, and they changed everything. It was so crazy. You know, like with Wicked and some of these movies, you're expecting to see the same story, but maybe just from a different angle or a different perspective, but they just straight up changed the story. They changed scenes, they changed plot points, and you know, that's fine, but I wasn't really going into it thinking that's what they were gonna do. I was thinking that they were just gonna retell Sleeping Beauty from Maleficent's angle. No, not really. They just changed the whole thing. So the first thing I'm going to say about this movie is Angelina Jolie as Maleficent is incredible. She's awesome. She's beautiful. Really, she is one of the most gorgeous women in the world. And those cheekbones. Hello. So I loved Maleficent. I loved looking at her. Her backstory was really interesting. So I thought it was a really great job that they cast Angelina Jolie as this mistress of all evil, this beautiful, incredible woman, because it just went perfectly. So just a little bit about the plot without spoiling too much. In this movie there are 2 worlds. There's the human world and then there's sort of the fairy nymph world. These worlds do not collide. They do not intermix. Humans do not visit this world and the fairies don't visit that world. Plain and simple. Maleficent is one of these fairies who lives in sort of this woodlands, this marsh area, and she has wings. The movie focuses a lot on Maleficent's wings. That's the whole point of this movie. So you'll see on a lot of the packaging and merchandise for this movie, it's the name Maleficent and then a big pair of wings. And at first I was kind of like, okay, what's the deal with the wings? But after seeing the movie, the wing aspect I loved. I thought it was really cool. I liked what they did. You see how she loses her wings and how important and ultimately devastating this was for Maleficent. Losing her wings really sent her on this spiral of hatred and evil. So Elle Fanning plays the Princess Aurora, and initially when I saw that casting I was like, no. And after seeing the movie I'm still sort of like, it's not as bad, but I'm like, I mean, okay. Aurora is supposed to be basically the most beautiful girl in the world. She was gifted with the gift of beauty. And I don't know if I say that about Elle Fanning. I mean, she's adorable, but I just didn't really get that grace and beauty that was bestowed to her. She was just more of like a quirky, goofy girl who like was so in awe and wonder. That's what her gift should have been. The gift of awe and wonder, because whenever she sees anything, she's like, oh, so pretty, want to touch. And I don't know, it was a little different than the Aurora I was used to. So, on the fence about Elle Fanning as Aurora. But one thing I did like is that she actually looked 16. She didn't look like a 23-year-old supermodel, which, like I said, she's supposed to be super pretty and beautiful, but she's supposed to be a 16-year-old supermodel, not a 23-year-old. So Aurora and Prince Philip actually do look 16, and I kind of like that. It made it a little bit more real. You realize, okay, they're not adults yet, they're still really little. No offense to anyone who's 16, you're not really little. You're totally grown up and super cool. So a lot of people have been talking about the fairies and their design. Now I initially saw the fairies design at D23 when they gave us the clip of the christening, and we get to see the 3 good fairies and they fly in, and at the time I really didn't like their design. I was like, ugh. They have like these really oversized heads and these really teeny bodies. Like I feel like proportions. Why is your head so big? It's really weird. But watching the movie, I really liked the fairies. I thought they were actually okay. I liked their designs. I did not like they didn't have the traditional flora, fauna, Merryweather names. Personally, I think they should have stuck with those, and also the colors that go with them. I thought that was kind of the point. Merryweather wears blue, fauna wears red, flora wears green, but they sort of mix it all up. Fauna, basically like the head fairy is like fauna-esque. Like I don't even remember her name. Her name was something different. But yeah, yeah. So I liked the way the fairies looked. For the most part, they actually didn't distract me as much as I thought they would, but the fact that they completely changed their characters and everything was kind of sad for the Disney fan in me. Now, other people who aren't as hardcore Disney fans, they're not going to care and they're just going to accept it, but for me, I'm like, Merryweather's supposed to be the goofy one, and it's just funny. There's this green fairy, I don't even know her name. She has like really curly hair and it's beautiful and it's blonde, and she sort of reminds me of Sarah Jessica Parker in Hocus Pocus. Like they have this trio and she's like the goofy weird one. It works. Okay, can I just say something? There is one scene where Maleficent is literally wearing a Catwoman catsuit. It's like leather head to toe. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I know we're in the 15th century now. You're living in the past. But I highly doubt that in the 15th century, they were wearing and sporting catsuits. It was really kind of weird to me. I thought she should have been wearing a dress in this scene, not looking like some Marvel superhero. I don't know, maybe cross-promotion or something, but I just didn't really like that. For the most part, everything stayed super true to time and period, except for that. Maybe they're gonna do a spin-off series about Maleficent and her adventures as this superhero. Maybe. So throughout the movie, I was actually really engaged. I liked the story, I liked how they set up Maleficent's backstory and what drove her to her madness, I guess. There actually is a lot of scenes with Maleficent and Aurora. In this version of the movie, Aurora is not trapped inside and she's not completely sheltered. She actually goes and explores a lot. And Maleficent is like this super creeper stalker who just sort of watches her. They develop a relationship, which was really interesting. They talk, they spend time together. It's kind of weird, but it totally works for the movie. If you're expecting this to work with the 1959 Sleeping Beauty movie, forget about it. There's not these 16 years where she has no idea where the princess is. I mean, basically 30 minutes after they reach the cottage, Maleficent's there and she's peeking through the window, she's being super creepy, but it works. They definitely changed the plot because they needed this relationship to kind of form and develop, but yeah. Personally, I do not consider this movie Disney canon. Like, I was thinking about it, I'm like, I like the backstory, but I kind of like the Sleeping Beauty version better. To me, this is not Disney canon, it's just a fun retelling. So all in all, I enjoyed this movie. Kind of. There were a lot of positives, there were a few negatives, but most of the negatives are just because I'm a hardcore Disney fan and I really couldn't get over them. But thinking about the movie, I enjoyed myself. This is really sort of like a poor man's Wicked. You know, this is really popular right now. Let's take our villainesses and our villains and let's spin them and show what really drove them to their madness. And they're actually a really good person. Can't a villain just be a villain? I mean, can't they just be evil for evil's sake? I know everyone has good in them, but this really takes away from how scary and evil the original characters are because we're like, oh, we're softening them and they're actually okay and they're not as frightening as they used to be. So, the big reveal. I'm going to give this movie 3.5 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't get over some of the major plot points that they did. I guess if I saw this again, I would be more open to these changes since I know they were coming, but I really didn't know they were coming, and so that kind of took me out of the moment. I think most people seeing this movie are going to love it. They're going to think it's fantastic. The visuals, the best. Everything about this movie looks good, it feels good, it tastes good, it smells good, it's good, except for the minor changes they did. Did I just say tastes good? Alright guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about Maleficent. What would you rate it out of 5? And also, did you like the changes they made? And would you consider this part of Disney canon? Thanks for watching guys, and until next time, I'm Morgan and this is the Rotoscopers YouTube.